धरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणे परमानन्दमाधवं चैतन्येश्वरं जय गुरुदेव. All right, thank you everyone for joining. So I hope everybody is having a good beginning of the new year. Happy New Year to all. So
Thank you, and same to you.
thank you very much. So everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we have done the first 8 shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita. So today we will just summarize that because some people may have missed it or may not joined for all the sessions, and because of the gap in the last 2 weeks, it's good to catch up for others. So I will request volunteers who can read one shloka. I can start the first one, and then others can chip in and read. You can just unmute and read, whoever is able to. So I'll read the first one. So first shloka of the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after my sons and sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Can anybody read second shloka?
Yes, I can.
Please.
Hare Krishna. Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arrayed in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So basically, Dhritarashtra asked the question when his sons, the Kauravas, and then his brother's sons, Pandavas, they got assembled. What did they do? And Sanjay is answering how Duryodhan went to Dronacharya and he spoke. So let's hear what he spoke. So who would like to read third shloka?
I can read.
Please.
Text 3. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada.
Okay, so now Duryodhan is telling Dronacharya to see the army of the Pandavas, and specifically he mentions about the son of Drupad. So we had discussed how Drupad and Dronacharya, they had a slight quarrel, and Duryodhan, who's a very clever diplomat here, is a politician. He knows how to be triggering those points. So he's specifically saying, hey, son of Drupad, with whom you have some quarrel, he has arranged the army, and you landed up teaching him the military science. So Duryodhan was making making Dronacharya remember that Drupad's son, whose name is Drishtadyumna, you taught Drishtadyumna in spite of the fact you knew that Drishtadyumna has taken birth to kill you. We had discussed the whole story about how Duryodhan was mentioning about Drupada, because Drupad and Dronacharya, they are both friends in the past, but because Drupad had first given a promise that I will give you half of my kingdom, so this was in the childhood, and then when they grew up, Drupad actually insulted Drona and did not really keep his words, and Dronacharya was very insulted because of that. And Dronacharya, when he taught the Pandavas and the Kauravas as a Guru Dakshina, Pandavas captured Drona, brought to captured Drupada, brought to Dronacharya, and at that time Dronacharya had given half the kingdom to Drupad, and kept the half with him. And basically, that created a lot of friction. And Drona was had completed his revenge, but Drupad wanted to take further revenge now, and he wanted to kill Dronacharya. Because of this, Drupad actually did yagya, and from the yagya, he got Draupadi and he got Drishtadyumna. Draupadi was accepted by him as her daughter. Drishtadyumna was accepted as his son, and both of them he took very nice care of. And Draupadi he had arranged to marry to Arjun, and Drishtadyumna he sent for training to Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew that he is actually born to take revenge from Drona and to kill him, but still, because his duty as a Brahman was to teach, he actually continued his teaching to all the princes there, including Drishtadyumna. So Duryodhan is pointing out, hey, you did a big mistake training Drupad. Now see, he has used those skills and he has arranged the army so nicely. So I'll go to fourth shloka. Who would like to read text 4? Anyone would like to volunteer? Okay, I can read. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjun, great fighters like Yuyudhan, Virat, and Drupad. So Duryodhan is basically introducing the opposite army. So it's like beginning of the war between Pandavas and Kauravas. The leader of Kauravas, the oldest son of Dhritarashtra, is Duryodhan, who is going to his chief commanders. Basically, one of the chief commander was Drona, and he was wanting to just motivate uh, his army. So he was telling that we have a lot of very powerful opponents here, and everybody knew the strength of Bhima and Arjun. They were very powerful. They had defeated so many powerful personalities, including the demigods. Arjun had so much powers that he had had fight with great devatas, and he was awarded. He had pleased those devatas by fighting with them, and the devatas had given him so many benedictions. And this way, Arjun and Bhima were prominently great fighters. So here he's comparing that it's not just Arjun and Bhim, but they have other powerful fighters as well, like Yuyudhan, Virat, Drupad. Now we had discussed how Drupad was very powerful. He had in fact defeated Duryodhan, Karna, Dushasan. All these powerful people had gone to defeat Drupad, but Drupad and his army had defeated them. Virat was another powerful king where Pandavas had stayed in the last year of their Vanavas, the incognito period, Agyatavas, where they were supposed to be hiding from the rest of the world. So they had taken shelter at the kingdom of Virat. So Virat was in the side of Pandavas. Yuyudhana was another great fighter. So these were great fighters. Text 5. Who would like to read text 5?
I can read.
Yes, please.
I'm having a little technology issue, but there are also great, heroic, powerful fighters like
Drishtaketu,
Drishtaketu,
Chekitana,
Chekitana,
Kashiraj,
Kashiraja, Purujit,
Kuntibhoj,
Kuntivoja, and
Shaibya.
Shaivya.
Thank you. Yeah, too many names here. So
Yeah.
basically, he's introducing all these powerful kings. That these are all the great kings, heroic. He is basically making sure that the army or the warriors or the soldiers in his team don't take things too lightly, because the number of warriors in Duryodhana's army were more. His army was like more than 1.5 times the army of Pandavas. So he knew that we have more numbers, but he wanted to make sure that people don't, take lightly these different warriors. So like that, he's just naming. Like many times, if there is a match, you try to assess, let's say a sports match. In India it could be cricket, or in US it could be soccer or baseball or whatever people would like. So many times the teams would point at their best players and say, hey, these are the best players in the opposite army. We have to, or the opposite team, we have to be very careful and cautious, and maybe think and point towards the weakness of the other sports personalities and see how we can, take them down or defeat them. So something similar is happening here. Okay, next. Who would like to read sixth? Okay, I can read.
I can read sixth.
Okay, go ahead.
There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamoja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters.
Thank you. So in those days, like now, we have different designation in different fields. Like for example, if you go in a university, you'll find some professors, some associate professors, some assistant professors, like that. So in those days also, the warriors also had gradations. Some of the warriors were Ardharati, some were Rathi, some were Maharathi. So, like that, how many warriors they can fight with at the same time, depending upon that, they had different gradations of different levels of how strong they are. So these all could fight with thousands of people at the same time, and they are called as Maharathis. So that's what Duryodhan is pointing out here. And he's specifically naming these Yuddhamanyu, Uttamoja, and then son of Subhadra. So son of Subhadra is going to play a very important role. He's very powerful. His name is, what is the name of son of Subhadra? Anybody remembers?
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu, yes. And the sons of Draupadi. Draupadi had 5 sons, so they were also very powerful. These were very young actually. Son of Subhadra and son of Draupadi were very, very young, but they were very powerful. But now Duryodhan is telling all these things about the opposite army. Now he's thinking, Duryodhan, oh, I must not tell too much about the opposite army, otherwise they will get underconfident. My army people may get underconfident if I speak too much about the other army. So now he's going to speak about his own army. So who will read 7th shloka?
I can read.
Hanji, please.
But for your information, O best of Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are specially qualified to lead my military force. Hare Krishna.
Yes, so now he's going to tell about his own captains, the chief in his particular army. Okay, so text 8, who would like to read? Okay, I can read. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battlefield. So now he is naming his own army people. And he's starting by addressing Drona, you, Bhavan. Now, even though the most powerful person here in both the armies actually was one of the most powerful, or the most, could be Bhishma. Um, but he's starting with addressing Drona because he's speaking directly to Drona. So he wants to give him respect. And um, because Drona is a Brahman, if you give respect to Brahman first, then Kshatriyas don't feel offended, or bad or insulted. So Bhishma won't feel anything bad if Drona's name is spoken first. So he's saying, you, Bhishma, Karna. Now, Karna, we had discussed that how Karna had decided that he will not enter the fight right now. He wanted to stay away because he wanted Bhishma not to be the captain while he's fighting, because Karna knew he was very powerful and Karna wanted to fight with his full strength. But then he knew that if he fights with Bhishma being the chief commander, then Bhishma will get the credit. So he didn't want that. So that's why Karna had not entered the army yet. But in his mind of Duryodhana, Karna was always there. So he's saying, in my army, it's you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripacharya, who was another teacher of Dronacharya, of Duryodhan, along with Dronacharya. Ashwathama, who was very powerful, and he was the son of Dronacharya. Vikarna. Vikarna was not extraordinarily powerful like the others, but Vikarna was the brother of Duryodhan. And Vikarna was one of the brothers who was having some morality or some piety. And that's why Vikarna was opposing the behavior of Duryodhan and party during the gambling match where Draupadi was insulted. Draupadi was um, uh, brought up in the assembly and insulted, and Vikarna opposed all of that. So Duryodhan now was trying to keep good terms with Vikarna so that Vikarna doesn't leave his party. And he was saying, hey, we have very powerful people. Vikarna is also very powerful. Just to, kind of, as they say, buttering. He was trying to butter so that he also feel motivated to fight in the team of Duryodhan. And these other personalities, son of Somudatta, Bhurishrava, these are all very powerful personalities actually. So we read till 8th previously. So today we are going to read 9th shloka. Okay. Anybody has any questions or comments or anything anybody would like to add to what we just discussed? Anything I missed? Okay. So we'll continue. Feel free to unmute and share if any points anybody would like to share. So we'll continue the way we usually do. I will read one line in Sanskrit and will request everybody else to follow. Anye cha bahava shura. Anye cha bahava shura. Madarthe tyakta jivita.
Madarthe
Madhate
Takta Jivita
Jivita
Nana Shastra Praharana.
Nana Shastra
Shastra
Paraharana
Praharana
Sarve Yuddha Visharada.
Sarve
Sarve
Yuddha
Yudha
Visharada.
Okay, who would like to read the translation?
I'll read Haribol. I can read.
Aji.
Unmute करो.
Yeah, we are already on.
Sorry, हाँ.
There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kind of weapons and all are experienced in military science.
Okay, you want to read the purport as well?
Yeah, I'll continue reading. As far as the others are concerned, like Jayadratha, Kritvarma, and Salya, all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was, of course, confident of his victory on account of the above mentioned combined strength of his friends.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
So see the attitude of Duryodhan here. Duryodhan is very happy actually. He's saying, oh, there are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. So he is actually not feeling anything that others are giving up their life. And we'll see the contrast of Arjun. When Arjun sees the same army and analyze the same people, Arjun feels, oh my God, So many of our loved ones, relatives, friends, and so many people will land up dying in the fight. I'll have to kill them. Oh my God. I cannot bear this. So Arjun is so compassionate, feeling he is having the feeling of compassion for others. On the other hand, Duryodhan, we can see what kind of feeling he's having. He's having selfish feeling, motivation for his sake. He's ready to lay down the lives of so many people. That's the kind of mentality we can see the contrast here. Um, in the purport, it's explained that Jaidrath, Kritvarma, Shailya are all there actually to support Duryodhan. But the way in the Sanskrit, the shloka came out, it actually also means that everybody has laid down their lives for me. So Duryodhana has spoken it such a way which is actually predicting what is going to happen. And what is going to happen? Everybody will land up dying who are in the party of Duryodhana. And this is unfortunate, but and that's what happens when um, greed overtakes people's decisions, like what happened in the life of Duryodhana. Any comments anybody would like to make on this particular shloka?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Um, this is very interesting. So Duryodhana, if I have to theorize it, is symbolizes negativity, right? In a
Yeah,
way.
we can say negative qualities were predominating his behavior.
Yeah. So the others who are ready to lay their lives for him, what makes them do that?
Well,
When
that's a very interesting and nice question. So from time to time, we see many of the decisions especially when it comes to geopolitics, they are not necessarily determined by just what one would have done in a normal scenario. Like for example, even right now, you see one of the powerful countries. If you don't follow them, then they can sanction you or they can make your life miserable, right? So many times the other smaller countries, they tend to follow. And in this particular situation, Bhishma was very, very powerful, and people in general, all these other personalities, they respected Bhishma. And Duryodhan was, even though the king here, Dhritarashtra's son, but he was not the primary person. It was the Bhishma and Hastinapur and the lineage which was respected. On the same lines, Duryodhan was very clever to make military alliances. So while Pandavas were in the forest, Duryodhan had already gone and tried to make all the military alliances. In fact, when it comes to Krishna, we had discussed this, that how both Arjun and Duryodhan, they went to meet Krishna to attract him to their own party. And it's a famous story. Many of you have heard that Krishna was resting. Arjuna came first, and he just, sorry, Duryodhan came first, and he lied just in front of the near the head of Krishna, while Arjun came later. But Arjun sat at the feet of Krishna. And when Krishna woke up, he saw Arjun first, and he said, "Oh, Arjun, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Just came to, meet you." And Duryodhan immediately interrupted, "Hey, I came first." I said, "Oh, you also came. Okay." So Krishna inquired, and they said, "As you know, the preparation of war has started, and we both would like you to be in our favor." So Arjun wanted Krishna, and Duryodhana also had come for the same reason. So Krishna said, "I share strong relationship, very deep relationships with both of you, and I cannot take one person's side. So let me divide. I'll be on one side without my army, without anybody with me. No weapons. I'll not participate in the fight with any weapons, but I'll be on one side. The other side will have my huge army. My huge army will be there, all weapons will be there, the whole army men will fight. Which one would you want? And at that time, Arjun, without any doubt, chose Krishna, and Duryodhan, without any doubt, wanted the army. And this is how we see in our life also choice comes, whether we want Krishna or spiritual life versus whether we want other lucrative things, other things which may be giving us more comfort, success, fame, enjoyment, all the other things. Which one would we choose? Do we prefer our spiritual life or taking the path which will bring to Krishna or not? So those are some of the choices which everybody has to make.
Mhm.
And both Arjun and Duryodhan, their influence is there within our heart, actually. Whether we
Mhm.
hear the Arjun within us or we hear the Duryodhan within us is our choice. And
Mhm.
sometimes some of us may choose Arjun. On the other times, we may choose Duryodhan. And in Duryodhan's case, he's always choosing the wrong path for the most part, even though he was very clever and had
Mhm.
many good skills and qualities. And many of the other people, actually, if you see in the party of Duryodhan, like for example, Jayadratha, who's spoken about or talked about here, Jayadratha was also not a very ideal personality to follow. He was actually going and putting evil eyes on Draupadi. He had even kidnapped Draupadi and was going to do all the misbehave and everything with Draupadi. At the right time, Pandavas, Duryodhana, sorry, Arjun and Bhima, they went there and they captured him. So all these different people who are there in the army, like what is said, flocks of same, no, what is it?
Mhm.
Birds of same feather flock together.
Flock
You
together.
know that?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, so same thing we can see that many of these people who were coming to Duryodhana's party, they were cleverly tricked by Duryodhan, like what happened to
Mhm.
the one of the uncles of Pandavas. What was his name? I'm forgetting his name, but he was Madri's brother. Madri was the stepmother of Duryodhan and the mother of Nakul and Sahadev.
Mhm.
Um, and what happened? The brother of Madri was on his way to Yudhishthir Maharaj, and on the way he was tricked by Duryodhan. He felt that he's receiving all this welcome by the army of Yudhishthir Maharaj, but actually he was receiving all the gifts and welcome and everything from Duryodhan. But Duryodhan uh, did not show that this is from him. He was just saying, his people were saying, these are the gifts, these are the welcoming thing. Please take rest here during your journey. And this is from the king. And he was thinking king means Yudhishthir. But then he accepted so many gifts. And later on, he said, I'm going to give everything to your king. And basically, they said, our king is actually Duryodhan. So then he had to fight. So like that, there were so many examples of so many people whom Duryodhan had tricked or who had made alliances or they were
Mhm.
evil to begin with. They had some negative, terms with the Pandavas. So because of that, they were joining the army of Duryodhan. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Nice
Mhm.
question.
Mhm.
Anybody else would like to add any points to that? Okay, so we'll go to the next shloka. So we'll do this 10th shloka now. अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं
तस्माकं
बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं बलं
बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं
पर्याप्तं त्वइदमेतेषां
पर्याप्तं
पर्याप्तं इदं
त्वदमेतेषां
तेषां
बलं भीमाभिरक्षितं
बलं
भीमाभिरक्षितं.
रक्षितं.
Okay, who would like to read the translation and purport for this one? Any volunteers?
I can read.
Please.
Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by Grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Purport as well?
Yes.
Okay, purport. Herein, an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhan. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general, grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general, Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhan was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained.
Okay. So here, Duryodhan is interestingly comparing. He's saying, see, we have all these great personalities, and above all, we are protected by the grandfather Bhishma. Now, the interesting thing is, Duryodhan was at an age where he also had big, he was in a generation where the next generation also was old enough to fight here. um, Duryodhan was older than Arjun, and we see Arjun's son Abhimanyu also in the fight. And Bhishma is several generations before Duryodhan. So here, even though it is mentioned grandfather, but actually it's even like um, few generations, you can say, older than that, because he himself did not have any sons, Bhishma, and his brothers were as young as the age gap was quite a bit between him and his brothers. So Bhishma was several generations older, but he was still so powerful, active, and there fighting. We can see how in those days people's health were. They were not getting old and not able to do their activities. He's there fighting, and not even once in Mahabharata or Bhagavad Gita there is any sign of saying that, oh, grandfather Bhishma, now he's old, he doesn't have the power. No, he was still the most powerful person in both the armies combined, actually. And of course, if we leave Krishna, and Bhishma was so powerful that he had defeated his own guru. So many of you may remember that Parshuram, one time, it's a long story, but I'll just tell a small part of it, that Amba, Ambika, Ambalika, these were the three princesses who were brought to marry the brother of Bhishma. But Amba at that time said that I cannot marry because I have accepted somebody else as my husband. So they said, oh, okay, okay. If you've accepted somebody else, then we have to respectfully bring you to that person. So Amba was sent, but that king said, no, no, I will not accept because I was lost in battle and to Bhishma. So Bhishma is the one who carried you from me. Now Bhishma should marry you. So she went to Bhishma that you should marry. Bhishma said, I have already taken a vow that I will never marry, and the princess which I had uh, fought for was for my brother. So Amba goes to Parshuram, and Parshuram was the guru of Bhishma. So Bhishma had many, many gurus, and one of the most prominent guru for the technique of martial arts was Parshuram. And Parshuram was so strong and powerful that he had alone defeated all the kings on the whole of earth, and several times he did that, 21 times. So he was so powerful. But when Amba went to Parshuram, Parshuram said, okay, if Bhishma is not marrying, I'll talk to him. And he's my student. He is very obedient and one of the best students I ever had. So I'll talk to him. So he spoke to him that Bhishma, you had brought this princess, but you're not marrying. He said, I brought it from my brother, and she said she doesn't want to marry him and has somebody else whom she wants to marry. I cannot marry myself, Gurudev, because I have taken a vow of celibacy throughout my life. So his guru said, either you marry her or you have to fight with me. So he said, if you order me to fight with you, then as your student and disciple, I have to follow your orders. So if you want me to fight, I will fight. So he fought with Parshuram, and Parshuram was indefeatable. But Bhishma was even one step ahead, and Bhishma finally was not defeated, but rather put his own guru in a situation where he was almost defeated. And then Parshuram was very pleased that my disciple actually overpowered me. So, this is the sign of an excellent teacher. An excellent teacher is very, very pleased when the student performs even better than him. So that's the nature of a father also. Father likes when the child is even more skilled, knowledgeable, or good in any way. The child defeats the father is very happy. So same way here, Parshuram was actually very happy and he blessed Bhishma even more. So Bhishma, like this, had lots of strength and power. So Duryodhan is remembering all of that and pointing that how Bhishma is the chief and the head here. And who is the most powerful person on the other party? It's actually Bhima and Arjun. And Bhima was the one whom Duryodhan was always fearful from. So he always thought that eventually there will be a fight and I'll have to face Bhima. So he is pointing Bhima is the chief on the other side and Bhishma is the chief here. There is no comparison because Bhishma is more powerful, Bhishma has more experience. Bhima, I can defeat Bhima. Duryodhan is thinking like that. So, this is how Duryodhan is trying to do the comparison that there is no comparison. Now, the word he has used here is he started the shloka by saying aparyaptam. Now, aparyaptam word has two meanings. Aparyapta means one. Can anybody tell what is the meaning of aparyapta?
पर्याप्त नहीं है.
So one meaning is,
Insufficient.
yeah, correct. So one meaning of aparyaptam. So paryapt means sufficient. Aparyaptam means insufficient. The other meaning of paryaptam and aparyaptam is paryaptam means it's measured, measurable, paryapt, and aparyaptam means immeasurable. So, aparyaptam word in Sanskrit can have two meanings. One is insufficient and the other is immeasurable. Now, both the meanings have opposite actually meaning. So, one meaning is that my army is immeasurable, but then the way he has used here is this that my army is immeasurable, aparyaptam. But then the other meaning of aparyaptam is insufficient. So, what is being said here is that even though Duryodhan used this word to say it is immeasurable, but actually, because Krishna is there on the opposite side, the actual meaning here is that your army is insufficient, not sufficient. Who will be sufficient to defeat Krishna? So, that is the idea. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody has any questions, comments, any points anybody wants to bring up here? Okay, so we'll go to the next shloka.
I do have a question. Sorry.
Please, please. It's good to ask questions.
Yes. So he always was fearful of Bhima.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it turns out that Bhima kills him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is that why not he was fearful of Arjun, because Arjun is a very central figure
Correct.
and and epitome of strength, focus, and whatnot. So why he was not scared of Arjun? Why it
Very good.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
very good question. So actually, when they were young, at that time, his fear was from both Bhima and Arjun, and he was always practicing to defeat Bhima. But Arjun, he felt he has no comparison, nobody he has to fight with Arjun. So he was always thinking that I can somehow or the other take care of Bhima, but what will happen to Arjun? But one day, when they graduated, all of them they assembled in front of the whole kingdom and all the kings, and they were all showing their all martial art techniques. And at that time, one person came. He said, "Hey, I should also be given a chance to show my strength." And this was like a private assembly, so why somebody has come? But then that person was Karna, and Karna at that time had displayed all his powers and strength, and he had challenged Arjun that, hey, I challenge that I will overcome Arjun. And Arjun previously had shown all his strength, power, techniques in shooting arrows, and they could do unimaginable things. They could actually, with their arrows, they knew the techniques and the mantras, how they can change the sunlight, or they can change the weather patterns and bring rain, or they could stop the flow of rivers by their power. So they knew all these techniques, and Arjun first did it, everybody was amazed, and then Karna came, he did it, and he could equal to Arjun, but he could not do anything more than what Arjun had done. So at that time, that was a click moment for Duryodhan. He said, I have to get this man in my party. So immediately he said, hey, I will give you the whole kingdom, because he was being questioned. Hey, who are you? Which kingdom do you rule? And he was feeling sad because he didn't have a kingdom. He was not a Kshatriya. Duryodhan said, I will give him a kingdom, Anga. Now, Duryodhan was himself not the king actually, and Dhritarashtra was a temporary king till the time Pandavas don't grow up. So Duryodhan really didn't have a right to give away a part of the kingdom, but he did do that, and nobody opposed. And he said, Angadesh, I will give Angadesh to Karna. And Karna was really feeling very, very insecure at that time. And when Duryodhan did this, Karna was sold out to Duryodhan. So after that, he started intimately associating with Duryodhan. And even though Karna was not that bad, but in the association of Duryodhan, he actually became very evil. That's why when Draupadi was brought to the assembly, at that time, Karna was the one who gave an idea that because they said, Vikarna said, hey, you should not insult this queen like this. And Karna said, what is insult? Such a lady, she has 5 husbands. Even if she is here without clothes, there is no insult. So Duryodhan, he gave an idea. So Duryodhan said, yes, yes, good idea. Without clothes, remove the sari. And that is how he started doing all the nonsense things because of the company of Duryodhan. So that's what happens. But Duryodhan was very much feeling safe now. He said, I have Karna, I have Dronacharya, I have Bhishma. These are
Mhm.
very, very powerful. They'll take care of Arjun. And
Mhm.
Bhishma was the chief here. And if you compare Arjun and Bhima, Bhima is older, and Bhima is kind of the, more of a strong, heavy personality. So he kind of the one who whom he's considering the chief on the other side. And he had just the phobia of Bhima. Bhima was always in his mind because he felt like Bhima is the one who I have to take head on myself. The others, I have other people. I have
Mm.
Bhishma, Drona, Karna, they'll take care of Arjun, but I have to take care of Bhima myself. You see how the
Mm.
mentality was?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to share any thoughts or any comments, any points? Okay, so we read first 10 shlokas. I think we will stop here so that we can, keep these conferences not too long. We'll stop here and we'll start with the 11th shloka next week. And tomorrow will be our Hindi conference where we'll do similar section. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Granth Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Hare Krishna.